And we're back at it again with another live one for all you Biconics wrestling nerds out there. And welcome to another edition of the Raw Squad reviews for Monday Night Raw for October 16th, 2023. I am your co host, Mikey, and joined us, because normally it's me and Evan, but he could not be here tonight. Joining us for the first time ever is my brother, my fellow Puerto Rican Boricua, Luis, my friend. Welcome to the Raw Squad review. We're just putting you in it almost in everything now. It seems.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Just get me in there. Let's get it in raw dog style. I'm down. I love Monday Night Raw. It's one of my favorite shows. I love this show, so I'm excited to talk about it with you. I can't wait to see what you think, and I feel like we're both gonna come up with the same thing. The women won the night.
I mean, like, there's no argument about it, and we're gonna talk about why everyone else's opinion is wrong. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But kind of. We're gonna do it in a polite way. But I agree with you. I really enjoyed this Monday Night Raw episode, and the fact that it is the season premiere.
Hmm.
They always keep changing when it is. I thought this was a pretty stacked show, so let's just jump into it.
Hmm.
We open up Monday Night Raw this week. We get a promo from Sami Zayn inside the ring, who is basically lamenting the loss of Kevin Owens going to SmackDown, but he's not going to cry about it because he's going to do what he needs to and he can stand on his own 2 feet. And then, of course, I was like, oh, wow, this is awesome. We're not starting Monday Night Raw off with Judgment Day in any capacity. And then, literally a few minutes later, Judgment Day comes out. I'm like, well, there goes my bingo card.
Mm.
But I appreciated this was short because Judgment Day comes out and they basically tell Sammy, it's like, all right, we're we're going to just basically take you out of the equation because
Mhm.
why not? And I was like, that's fair because Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn have been a thorn in their sides for the last few months now. And of course, Judgment Day does their thing. They surround the ring. It's going looks like to be just a pile on. But then Jay Uso with the chair for the save coming out, and Judgment Day kind of back off. I didn't have too much of an issue with it. But I'm like, Judgment Day, you have 4 versus 2 still, even with the steel chair. The numbers advantage is still there, but that's fine. But I really enjoyed this opening segment. Luis, what did you think about Sammy's lament and then Judgment Day?
I mean, I was pretty interested. I thought it was a pretty lukewarm start to the show. Like, I think if I'm looking at the entire 3 hour program, I'm looking at this as possibly being like, I think Sammy was a part of the weakest parts of Monday Night Raw. I think it was a great way to get Jay Uso out there. The crowd, as soon as his music hit, they started doing the arm movement. If you notice right away, they start bouncing their arms like that. That dude is over right now in a way that we haven't seen since Sami Zayn. So I'm pretty excited about that. I think every Raw should start out with the Judgment Day. They own the brand, Rhea Ripley, and as we talk about that, it was mentioned that she is the leader of the group. That was mentioned live in the ring.
Yes. I appreciate that they finally acknowledged it. I was like, let's be real, you guys. She's been running this group since its
Yep.
inception and its formation. So now everybody else knows for sure. So briefly after this, we cut backstage. So this is where Sammy and Jay begin talking, and Sammy goes through a emotional roller coaster, as I like to call it. He's still lamenting the loss of Kevin Owens. Then he kind with in so many words or less, he then blames Jay for this and the fact that Jay has the titles,
Mhm.
Cody's his tag partner, things are going good for him, and Sammy is left with nothing. And Jay is legit hurt. He's like, oh man, I didn't know how you felt that way. And so then Sammy proceeds to leave and then come back and apologize, and then they hug it out. I'm like, oh, Sammy. Oh, Sammy.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm like, all
Yeah.
right. It was interesting. I'm like, it should be interesting.
Once again, I felt like this was pretty weak. I don't know. Sammy just kind of feels out of sorts. He doesn't really feel like he's it feels like they don't really have anything to do with him, so they're just kind of using him as like the, oh, we're gonna have him be the rah rah guy, kind of like hence his promo. Like I'm world heavyweight championship worthy. And then to be honest with you, my 7-year old was watching Raw with me, and he said the same thing. He's like, yeah, he's world heavyweight championship worthy, and I was like, well, that's the first time I've ever heard anybody say that. But okay, you know, this company placates the kids, so if my son believes that, then it must be true. uh i I guess I just kind of felt like I'm kind of tired of the whole like Sammy having anything to do with the bloodline, and I still
Mhm.
kind of consider Jay the bloodline. So
I mean, that's very, very fair. I think again, I think Sammy right now is kind of in that transitional stage of
mhm,
going from where we were. And I do agree with you too. I think once we kind of start moving Sammy away from any mentioning or dealings with bloodline storyline, because that
mhm,
was his story for the last year and a half, 2 years or so, however long he's been doing this with Roman and them.
mhm,
I am excited though for next week's match that Sammy's involved with, only because wrestling wise, I'm a big fan of Mr. El Generico himself, man.
mhm,
Like, I love Sammy, but I do agree from a writer's perspective. For me, I guess it kind of makes sense that he's in this lamentation stage, but it happened really quickly because last week it was all guns blazing, and now he's like, "Oh, I'm sad." I'm like, that was a dramatic shift in a
mhm,
character, but all right, sure, fine. So, as soon as that backstage segment was over, we get into our first match of the night. So, this is the Falls Count Anywhere match between Ricochet and Shinsuke Nakamura. Um, yes, can we? I give the I listen individually. I'm a big fan of Shinsuke. I love Ricochet.
mhm,
These two killed it. I love this so much. It was everything that it needed to be, and what a way to have your first match just come out all cylinders, like hitting full throttle.
mhm. Yeah, this match was phenomenal from start to finish. I really thought that Ricochet showed out here. See, we've already because Shinsuke Nakamura has been in a World Heavyweight Championship program for the past 2.5 months. We've already been able to see him in front of the crowd, and the whole like a subtitle promo, like, and it's amazing. There's nothing, so they didn't stop. They're going to continue to rock with him like that, and that's great. But like, it's Ricochet's time. I mean, as much as big of a Drew McIntyre fan as I am, and as excited as I am at the potential of him winning the World Heavyweight Championship, I I really feel like that should have been Ricochet's spot. Like, especially Saudi Arabia, like that just feels like a spot for him. Uh, I don't know. I loved what he did. The shooting star, like, off the. I mean, that's insane. Just phenomenal. I really thought the match itself was really good. I love the whole, like, every time Shinsuke went for the go to sleep, he wound up turning it into a dragon leg screw. I thought that was really great. I love the fact that Shinsuke realized he couldn't win the match with someone else's move, whether it's Kenta or whether it's CM Punk's move or whatever. But he winds up winning with a Kinshasa. This match was great. I enjoyed the crap out of it. I went back and watched it again. That's how much I enjoyed it.
Oh, absolutely. I love this. And of course, some of my highlights include Ricochet running up the LED wall to
Hmm.
flip on top at the top of the stage, the shooting star press off of the railing in the crowd. I love that Shinsuke knocked Ricochet off to go through the table and then was stalking him for the Kinshasa to pin him. This is a very fun match. Both men showed out, but I totally agree with you. I'm ready to see more of Ricochet kind of start getting more momentum and more push. And even in a loss here, this was fantastic.
Yeah.
He really showed out. And then we head backstage, and this is our first of many women's segments that we're going to see throughout the light, which I'm a fan of. So here we see Tegan Knox talking to Katana Chance, Kaden Carter, and Nikki Cross kind of just chilling in the background. Listen, I've always loved Tegan Knox. I will forever unapologetically love it. I love seeing that now that she's having more screen time, she is getting more confident in speaking in character. And I love, again, Tegan Knox is my girl. I love her so much. But Tegan is kind of talking about her match with Becky. And then, of course, listen, I'm really excited for Tegan versus Lyra,
Mhm.
which I'm definitely going to be watching after we're done here. Um, but as Tegan is talking to the girls, Chelsea and Green and Piper Niven kind of come in. They talk a little smack. Tegan fires back a little bit, which was really, really nice to see. I was like,
Oh, it was phenomenal. I thought that was the best way to showcase her. She felt like she felt like Becky Lynch out there, just in her own version. Everything. She felt like a bully. It was so good. I was like, my God. And you know what? And I know people hate this reference because there's just so many fragile fucking people in this world. She felt like Brie Larson in Captain Marvel. Like, I'm just better than you. And that I know that that's her idol, and I know she loves that's her favorite comic book character. And I'm a big Captain Marvel fan too. But I feel like when I watched her, I immediately thought to myself, she needs that Chris Jericho moment. And I don't know if you get that reference, but like Chris Jericho had a moment in a match that never happened where he beats Triple H for the World Heavyweight Championship, and the decision is reversed later on, and then the match never happens. But Vince McMahon did that to see how the crowd would react to Jericho being champion, and they fucking lost it. I think Tegan needs that moment. She needs a dusty finish to see if she's got it because I think they have a gem there. They have a gem. I feel like in the ring she's as good as Bailey and Becky. I don't know if I'd put her up there with Sasha because Sasha's just spectacularly special. But I definitely feel like it's definitely one of those things where uh, I want more of her. That's how much I enjoyed it. I was like, I need more of this Tegan Knox. This is what I need from her.
oh, 100%. And of course, towards the tail end of this kind of interaction, it does set up the fact that, Piper's going to be in action later tonight, but now Tegan is on their radar, and this will not be the last we see of Tegan tonight. But I I agree with you. I love seeing Tegan get more time to shine, and there is a gem waiting to just be polished and to explode when they were ready to use her. So I'm excited. Really quickly, we get a quick kind of video package slash vignette for Gunther, because we do have an Intercontinental Championship match
Mhm.
later tonight. Listen, I always, as much crap as I talk about WWE sometimes, whoever's in charge of their video package department, I was like, their video promos and their video vignettes are always spectacular, especially when they showcase talents or the matches setting up for pay-per-views. Well done. And then we get into said women's match. So Piper Niven takes on Natalia. Um, the memes are already circulating the internet because somebody got a little too that poor little kid, man. He got a little too close with Natalia. I was like,
I know, right? I was like, dang, he got a full boob there. Good for
uh
him.
listen, I was like, Natalia, I appreciate you like like keeping a cool head. I was just like, sir, like child, where are your parents? But
Yeah. I think women in general are typically okay with children doing that because like I know like my son or my daughter they still like for no reason at all they'll just like put their hand in their mom's shirt. Like it's just a comfort thing. I don't really know if that's what that kid was doing because she's a perfect stranger, or maybe he was
right,
just trying to get one more hug out of her. I don't know. Um,
probably. And because he was fairly young, like I don't think anything too much of it. I'm like, he's just a young kid. It
mhm,
happens like that. I was just like, there's no malicious intent. I have to
mhm.
say, I actually really enjoyed this match. Piper Niven's
Oh
gear
yeah,
reminded me of it reminded me of Awesome Kong. For
yeah.
some
There's a
reason, I
lot
was
of people
like,
making that reference, so I think that's probably what it was. Yeah, good for
I
her.
was. I was like, yes. I was like, I listen, I love Awesome Kong both in the ring and as a
Mhm,
human being as well. She's amazing. And I
mhm.
really appreciated if that's what Piper was going for. I
She was
love the
awesome on
homage.
Glow.
Canceled too soon.
Yeah. Yep. Canceled too soon.
Man,
Yep.
it was so great. I really enjoyed this match. They gave it a little bit of time. It was a pretty good back and forth. Natalia was really good in holding her own. That crossbody from Piper Niven is, oh my god, I love that, watching that just and
Mhm,
of course Piper picks up the win. Her and Chelsea beat Natalia down afterwards, and then Miss Tegan Knox herself comes down for the save.
mhm.
So it seems that Natalia and Tegan are going to be tussling with Chelsea and Piper for a little bit, it seems, and I'm not going to complain.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought this match was really good. Solid little match here. I think it was like 7 or 8 minutes long. Natty is doing her best to just put over young talent. I've been a big fan of Piper Niven ever since I watched her work Tony Storm in the Mae Young Classic. I thought they were the perfect marriage, and I knew immediately just off that match alone that Piper was a solid workhorse. I love watching her. I think she's great. She's good. She's good on the mic. She does a really good job there as well as in the ring. And, I love that once again, we have another segment with Tegan Knox, someone who was like nowhere. And then Becky Lynch mentions her name, or she starts like shooting her, like, hey, we need Tegan Knox on here. And now she's in multiple segments on Monday Night Raw. Like, that's unheard of for it to happen that quickly. Good for her. Good for her.
Again, I
So
agree.
hot, by the way. Yeah.
Listen, we here at the Biconics, we are professionally unprofessional. We talk about wrestling, but we're also a variety of spectrums. Listen, Tegan Knox, hi, how we do?
Yeah. Yeah.
So after this, we head backstage to the Judgment Day, have a quick segment. Damian Priest is like, all right, guys, like that was good and everything. And I kind of feel bad that JD got his butt whooped last week, but we need to take care of Drew McIntyre. And then Dominic and Rio were like, no, Damian. It's like, we handled Drew. We got it under control. But then Rhea specifically is just like, I got this. I took care of business. And now, if you excuse me, I'm going to go put the women's division on notice. I was like,
So I have a theory.
tell me your theory, as long as it's not in Austin.
I love my people. I love my people. I have that tattoo on my arm, on my body, by the way. That's how much I love my people. With the original blue, by the way, not the colonizer blue, but I have it with the original blue. And but that flag is super hard to get, by the way. Anyway, I think Damian Priest is going to lose the Money in the Bank to Drew McIntyre. He's going to get kicked out of Judgment Day, and Drew is going to join Judgment Day.
That's
And
scandalous.
guys, that's my theory. You can Google that shit. Nobody's talking about it. There's no dirt sheets. That's my theory. So
It's like, it's my theory, nobody else. It's like, I'm watching you.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you can, yeah. If it picks up steam, that'd be great. That means people watch our show, which is awesome. But that's what I think. I think that's what she means by we got this handled. I think they're starting to get tired of Damien's outbursts. I think that's the whole point. It's kind of like, dude, you're the only one snapping out weekly. You know what I mean? So I think it's kind of like we don't need that kind of instability in Judgment Day. It makes sense to me. I hope that's not the case because I really want, a Puerto Rican world champion. But yeah, that's my thought. That's how I think Drew wins the World Heavyweight Championship off Seth.
Ooh, that would be very, very interesting. So, well, from Judgment Day, we go to another in ring kind of segment. This time we have Seth freaking Rollins come to the ring. He calls Drew McIntyre out. I love that. I love that Seth Rollins goes into lawyer mode. It's just like video. It's like a production truck. Roll that footage, and
Mm-hmm.
then I love that it's like here we have a candid conversation from Ricochet and Adam Pierce. But oh, who is in the background? And we see Rhea and Drew talking.
Mm-hmm.
Best description of that whole thing. He's a kind of a big fella. he looks a little bit Scottish. He's ruggedly handsome, which I'm not gonna disagree with you, Seth. There.
Yeah, he's literally my wife's favorite wrestler. For yeah,
Uh,
it's the only merchandise she owns.
Listen, there's a reason that we're calling them Biconics here. So Drew, hey, how we doing? Um,
Yeah.
but again, this back and forth is continuing to build between their match that is going to be at Crown Jewel. But Drew says it's like he's not in bed with the Judgment Day,
Mhm.
that he handles his own business. Seth's like, I handle my own business. And then, we kind of just depart from there. Listen, Seth versus Drew is something I'm really excited for just by the concept of them fighting each other. And it's going to be even more invigorating whenever we finally get Drew going full heel with all this.
I mean, he could bring back his old theme music, but he doesn't need that crutch.
That's very true. But if you
That.
want to get it, but if you want to get a cheap pop out of me, I'm
Yep.
not going to be against it.
Yeah, "A Broken Dreams" is an amazing song, yeah. I just thought that that was hilarious, and it shut the crowd up. It was almost like, "Oh man, like, if we sing now, we make him seem like he's telling the truth." I loved it. Drew is one of the most underrated talkers in pro wrestling, and I feel like people don't want to talk about it. His promos with Randy Orton during the pandemic, his promos with Seth Rollins the first time they had a feud, his promos with Dolph Ziggler, his in the ring promo with Kevin Owens is that promo made me feel like I was watching like Piper in the ring, like talking with like Ric Flair. It was so beautifully done. The script for it, or however, if it was ad libbed or however, it was perfect. And I thought this segment came off like gangbusters. This was spectacular. I was invested in this last week. Now, as much as I love Roman Reigns, he's in my top 5 all time. I just feel like I want this to main event over Roman and LA Knight. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I
I
want this to be the
mean,
main event.
I'm there with you. Like I I will say, while I don't like Roman having a really long title reign, him being off for like 2 months or so over since SummerSlam, I think is nice. And I said that over on the SmackDown review that I'm more okay now with Roman coming back because he's been off screen for a little bit. I I don't I don't think LA Knight will lose momentum by losing
No.
to Roman. Um, but I think LA Knight will be fine. But yes, I agree with you. Drew versus Seth is more of my main event feel on
Mhm.
paper than Roman versus LA Knight. But I don't know if it will happen. But you know what? WWE might surprise us. But we shall see.
Mhm.
We get a video package that hypes up the Intercontinental Championship match, and then we get a recap of Logan Paul calling out Rey Mysterio for that United States Championship. I'm like, well, there's your match for Crown Jewel right there. Logan versus Rey for that United States Championship. And I feel like I'm in the minority when I say this, but whether you like or hate Logan Paul's guts as an online personality, I think at this point you cannot deny his athletic ability and his just the sheer talent and raw potential that he has to pick up on wrestling quicker than most people seem to do in a lifetime at this point. Like
Yeah.
the kid is a sponge. Like he can pick up things really quickly.
He's also he all right. I have to stick to wrestling here because if I talk about him in personal life because of what he does to the people on my island, I feel like I'm just going to spew hatred on the podcast. But what I will say is he does have the opportunity to rehearse his match over and over and over, and that's why it looks so crisp and clean when he works, and he has yet to put on a good wrestling match. So obviously, working the goat of the cruiserweights is only going to help him, in that sense. So I'm sure this match is going to be good. I just feel like this is just an easy way to get a singles title on LA Knight without hurting him, because obviously the LA Knight versus Logan Paul thing, Logan's been selling that for months. So go get the title off of Ray, hold it till WrestleMania, and then LA Knight wins his first championship at WrestleMania. I think that's the best way to do it without hurting Ray or hurting LA Knight.
Mhm. And yeah, we'll stick to wrestling, but I'm there with you. I'm there with you on the other stuff, trust me.
Mhm.
So, our next match, we see Ludwig Kaiser of Imperium taking on Mr. Johnny Wrestling himself, Johnny Gargano.
We got a Johnny Wrestling chant.
Listen, I they haven't I mean, they've unofficially officially announced it, but let me tell you, DIY being reunited on the main roster makes my little heart happy because
No, they announced
DIY.
it. They already have
Okay,
merchandise on the WWE shop.
wow. Okay, then I take back that statement. So they officially announced it. My point still remains. DIY is such a great tag team. Tommaso and Johnny by themselves are amazing. Together, it makes it even better.
Mhm.
This match was actually pretty fun. And I actually didn't mind the fact that Mr. Giovanni himself interfered by raking Johnny in the eye to
Mhm.
allow Ludwig to get the win here. So I'm excited because it seems that we're setting up DIY versus Imperium
Mhm.
in whatever capacity, whether it be if they want to do it at Crown Jewel, if it's going to be set for Survivor Series or for regular television. Just give me more Johnny wrestling on my television screen.
Yeah, agreed. Give me the whole way. Give me the way.
Oh
I
my
want
gosh,
I want
yes.
Dexter Loomis. I want Indy Hartwell. I want Candice LeRae. You know, go throw Austin Theory back with them. I want the whole group. That's
I
it.
yeah, the way was such a great little I love that little faction. The skits
Mhm.
were so dumb, but like in the best way possible. The therapy sessions had me cracking up so hard when when Dexter was scaring Austin and then they took him to therapy and then I don't care what nobody says, the Index wedding has been one of the better wedding segments we have gotten in WWE in the last couple of years. Like
Mhm.
Index was everything and is still everything.
Yeah,
And
man. Where the
also
hell is my boy Dexter? I don't understand.
I don't know what's happening with Dexter. I know that he's out here being on television shows now for now.
Yeah.
So I was just like, but listen, Index is always a good thing, and I popped really hard when he helped, lift Indy up the ladder for her championship win at Stand and Deliver. Like I'm
Speaking of
very
Indy.
yeah. Since we're talking about her, she was involved in this Index backstage segment. So Becky Lynch, the man, the
Mhm.
NXT Women's Champion, is walking around with the title backstage. And Indy Hartwell comes walking up and basically tells Becky, "Is like, hey, you're giving out title shots to everybody. I want a title shot because I never lost the title." I'm like, that's kind of true, but I also feel that's very true for Roxanne too. We still have yet to do anything with that quite
Mhm.
yet, but we'll get to that. So Becky's like, "All right, I'll fight you. I just got to confirm it with Adam and make sure that it's okay with Shawn Michaels and
Mhm.
NXT, and then we'll figure it out." Because Becky out here wanting to fight everybody and anybody, and
Yeah.
then Becky has one of two face to face moments. Because as soon as Candice and Indy leave, Becky turns around and then she comes face to face with mommy herself, Rhea Ripley, and I yelled at my television screen. I'm like, WrestleMania. Oh, wait, that was me. Sorry.
Mhm. Oh yeah. They've been teasing this for a while. We need it. We need it to happen.
Well, I love the continuation because lest we forget, a couple months ago, Becky literally called it out for Rhea. It's just like when I had the title, I was the main event. You're just the main event side piece with
Oh
Judgment Day.
yeah.
I was
Love
like,
that.
ugh, that has stuck in my head rent free since it happened. And now, again, we're continuing the thread, and so now that Rhea's champion, and now she's actually getting more and more momentum, and they're actually utilizing her properly. Becky versus Rhea is the match I want to see.
100%.
So we get another backstage segment. This involves Sammy and Drew. Basically, Drew McIntyre calling Sammy out on his crap. And Sammy's still trying to be the cheerleader for Jay. I'm like, but a couple segments ago, you were kind of dogging on your boy over
Mhm.
here. But it's fine. Drew with the ultimate burn is just like, you don't understand because you're not world champion material. I'm like, holy shit, Drew. I
Mhm.
mean, you're not wrong, and I love you, Sammy, but you're not wrong. But Sammy, basically, all this did was set up that we're getting Sammy versus Drew McIntyre next week. And I'm like, listen, I love you, Sammy, but your ass is about to get handed to you by Drew, and it's going to be glorious.
I love Drew McIntyre. I love Drew. Big fan of Drew. I did not like that line. The reason I didn't like
Really?
that no, the reason I didn't like that line is because it delegitimizes every single thing that Nick Khan and WWE are trying to do with NXT. Sami Zayn is a former NXT World Heavyweight Champion. Becky Lynch is the women's champion. Uh Ilya Dragunov is the current NXT World Heavyweight Champion, and they're trying to make that the third brand. Drew held that world title. By him saying that Sammy's never been a world champion before, it's completely taking away NXT's value. That's why I thought that the line itself didn't make any sense because I was like, why do that when we're trying to prop up NXT? It just didn't feel like the right line. Like yeah, it just didn't feel like the right line. But I do love the fact that Sammy's gonna get his head kicked in next week because, you know, I'm not the biggest Sami Zayn fan. I like El Generico, yeah, but I'm not the biggest Sami Zayn fan.
Yeah,
But
I
El
love.
Generico is helping children in Mexico anyway. He's not the same person.
Ugh, listen, Jack Black. If you ever listen to this and you want to make a Nacho Libre 2, you better get call up El Generico for that movie. Freak, seriously, I would love it so much. I mean,
Absolutely. He's down there helping children. That's what he's doing.
yes, I can see your point about Drew's comment kind of like belittling NXT. I don't think that's the way he made it to come out. I think it was more towards a personal dig since Sammy coming up to the main roster. He's held the IC and the US title and the tag titles, but he has yet to hold like one of the main singles men's titles.
Mhm.
Um and but I also agree with you. I'm like, Drew, you came back to WWE and you were NXT champion when you came back to the company,
Yeah.
going from a twig to a full on grown ass tree. Because listen, his
Yep.
first run, he was a twig, and then when he came out,
Mhm.
and I'm like, bro, so, you beefed up. It's crazy.
Mhm.
After that segment, we do get another women's match. Rhea Ripley versus Shayna Baszler. But first, Rhea comes out on the microphone and she does what she said she was going to do earlier. She puts the women's division on notice. She's like, everyone wants to talk about how they're the baddest bitch in WWE, but let's be real, I am that bitch. And then she's ready to fight Shayna.
Yeah. I was really hoping that we'd get like a part 2 of their NXT Women's Championship match, but that's not what we got today. This was meant to set up the five-way.
That's very fair. Because I actually enjoyed everything up until the interruption. So I was like, yo,
Mhm.
again, I agree with you because I was like, Shayna and Rhea, give me part two of their championship match that they had in NXT. I loved that Rhea going to try to put Shayna into the Riptide, and then Shayna counters it into an armbar, and then Rhea picks up Shayna and then power bombs her onto the mat. Was
Mhm.
great. But like you said, this served the purpose of setting up the fatal five way at Crown Jewel because the unstoppable force Nia Jax comes out, and then from here it's just chaos. So Nia, Raquel, Zoe Stark of all people comes in, and all the women are just decimating each other. I had to look up the results, but it seems that Shayna won by disqualification for some reason. I'm like, okay, sure, fine.
Mhm.
But again, we'll talk about it when we get the Rhea backstage segment. While the Fatal Five is exciting, I feel like you could have just did a Fatal Four Way, and
Mhm.
I still think it would have been okay. But I'm not going to complain. I wish it did get a more. This women's match did get more time, but ultimately this was the stepping stone into the backstage segment with Rhea.
Mhm.
Speaking of backstage segments, we're not done with the women's backstage stuff. So Becky Lynch is backstage and she's talking to Adam Pierce, who's
Mhm.
going to call Shawn Michaels to make the match with Indy official, which it does when we get to the bumpers. And then we have round two because as she turns around, who does Becky Lynch run into but Miss Jade Cargill herself?
Mhm.
So Jade tells Becky, nice title. Becky smiles and says, get in line. And Jade is caught off guard. She's like, oh, okay. And I
Mhm.
love what Adam Pierce says is like, well, that's what happens when you're the man.
Mhm.
Also, I feel like you would look better in red. I was like,
Yeah.
because the reports are allegedly are saying that Jade is going to be on Monday Night Raw. So I will admit, while I like the little face off between Jade and Becky, I think I probably popped harder Jade versus the face to face she had with Charlotte a little bit
Mhm.
better. Only because that one felt more of like they're both class women, and then they were just being subtly bitchy to each other.
Mhm. Yeah. I loved it too. I just think Becky's big time. Like she's big time, and I think that the only person that rivals her right now, based on just word of mouth, is Jade. So that's why this makes sense to me. But I love how Charlotte and Jade came off like, they respect each other. And this came off almost like Becky without saying it. Like she was like read between the lines. She's like, "You're not on my level, kid." Like I just love that. I thought that was great. So I just love Becky Lynch. She's amazing.
I love Becky as much as you do. And whenever they decide to start having Jade start wrestling folks, I do appreciate that they're letting her play nice, and then eventually she's going to start whooping girls' ass up and down the roster, which I'm excited to see. After this, we get a quick backstage segment with Cody and Jay, which basically it's mostly Cody doing the talking, talking about the main event, which is they're gonna defend the tag team championships. And then of course we finally work up to Jay going, yeet.
Hmm.
I don't care what nobody says, that scrum was amazing.
Yeah.
So after this, we do get our WWE Intercontinental Championship match with Gunther defending his title against Bronson Reed. This is the Bronson I want to see. This is the New Japan Bronson where he's just, oh my god, this match was awesome. I loved it.
Wow. I talked about this before Raw. I said this is the match I was looking forward to seeing. I am a massive fan of the throwback big man, big boss man, Bam Bam Bigelow, Big Van Vader. These, like, I love this style of professional wrestler. When I watch Bronson Reed, I feel like he is a upgraded version of Vader, and I think he's spectacular. But as Miss Shayna said earlier when she stitched my video, Gunther is the most impressive WWE champion in the past like 2 years, and it's not even close. This has become and the fact that he has 75 title defenses, and not just on television, premium live events and live events. What Gunther is doing right now, it just hasn't been done. Like nobody's doing that. He's wrestling constantly. Like I love it. I thought this was phenomenal. This match itself was just hard hitting. Did you see Bronson's chest?
Oh my gosh. I was like,
I
listen, I
Oh my god.
listen. You have better experience with in ring stuff because that's
Mm.
trained in the ring, you performed in the ring, like so you're a little more used to that. I'm watching it at home and I'm just covering my chest and I'm like, oh gosh, oh god, oh god.
So full disclosure, for my 21st birthday, I was in New Jersey. Right, that's where I lived at the time in Bayonne, New Jersey, and they were like I kind of like I hung around with like the wrong people, like, and they were like, "Oh, we got to give you 21 punches like in your arm." And I was like, "No, I don't want that. Like I don't want that." I was like, "Why don't you just chop me 21 times?" Side took 21 chops from three different people. And the next day when I woke up, I had broken blood vessels like everywhere. There was like two different handprints because they couldn't hit me properly. But I was so hammered, it didn't matter. But that's what I thought of when I saw his chest. I was like, yo, I can see the little vessels that are popped. And I was like, damn, he smacked the shit out of him. It was pretty rocking.
Oh, I love this match so much. And again, I'm clutching my chest. I'm like, oh my gosh. But Gunther does pick up the win here. Still your reigning Intercontinental Championship. This match rolled. I'm really happy to start seeing Bronson Reed get more and more shine because I've loved Bronson since NXT. And then of course his run in New Japan and Impact Wrestling before he came back was also really, really good. This this match ruled. Really quickly, the Miz tries to cut a promo. Nia
Mhm.
Jax interrupts. Tries to continue said promo, and they're like, "Oh, we're out of time." And Miz
Mhm.
is just like, "What the hell, you guys?"
I love it. I love this. This is just a great version of the Miz that we're getting. Plus, Naya is like super unlikable. And that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to hate her. That's She's doing her job. She's interrupting people. She's calling herself dominant. She's saying only I squash people here. She's doing her job. So I love it. I love it. I love that Miz is being out healed by someone.
Right? It's so refreshing to see.
Yeah.
Listen, I love Nia Jax as the character, but I love the person even more so. It's just like I don't care what nobody says. I'm gonna like Nia no matter what. She's great. I think I like her. She's really good. And well, this is what I was mentioning earlier. Rhea backstage is yelling at
Hmm.
Adam Pierce because that's not how she wanted to dominate the division, and people keep stepping into her business. And so Adam Pierce officially has had it. So he tells Rhea that you can handle all of these women and you can handle all of them because at Crown Jewel, it's going to be a fatal five-way for Rhea's title while she's defending it against Nia Jax, Raquel Gonzalez, Shayna Baszler. Oh no, it's Rodriguez, not Gonzalez. I missed the Gonzalez. I was like, I don't,
Hmm.
whatever. And Zoe Starks. This is what I was mentioning before. I think Fatal Four Way would have been just as fine. You can remove Zoe out of this just from a writing perspective because Naya, Shayna, Rhea, and Raquel have been fighting for the last couple weeks, and then Zoe's kind of stuck her nose into this, which means to tell me, I'm like, is Zoe going to take the pin at Crown Jewel? She's probably going to take the pin at.
No, I think Shayna will probably take the pin of Raquel. Nah, they're helping make Zoe for the future. I mean, Zoe's great.
Oh, I
They
agree.
Yeah, I like the inclusion of her because it just adds it. But as I said earlier today, this is historical. We haven't had a multi women match in Saudi Arabia, and we're getting it. And I'm excited to see what all their gear is going to look like. Obviously, Nia already dresses that way. So, but I'm excited to see what all their gear is going to look like. I'm excited for this match itself. I feel like they're going to tear the house down. Like these women are just going to go for it, and this is great, man. This is historical. It's historical. Like we need to make sure we point that out. Like this has not been done yet. We're getting a first time. And obviously, Rhea just continues to make history.
Listen, not because not because I'm weird like that, but I'm really interested to see Rhea's gear. I was just like, listen, I'm harder. What? Like, we know she's gonna come out with some dominatrix leather type ass things. I also appreciate that we have evolved from for at least for the women going from really ugly baggy t-shirts to cover them up into the just them covering their whole body except for face and hands. I was just like, I appreciate that little facet. So I'm again, this is historic because you're having five women in the ring fighting for a title in Saudi Arabia. So
Hmm.
this is definitely a big moment, and I'm hoping that match to be fun. We do then get our comedy segment of the evening. Alpha Academy and New Day are hitting the gym. Um, I had to pause my television because I spit out my water as I was watching the beginning portion of it. So Maxine is doing like Pilates with Otis, and I had to pause my television because I spit
Mhm.
out my water because I was laughing too hard at that. But essentially, this basically just sets up Alpha Academy and New Day will be taking on each other. And then Xavier said for the first time in history, I'm like, holy crap, they're right. I don't remember New Day and Alpha Academy facing off ever, which is crazy.
Mhm.
And Akira Tozawa is out here getting a paycheck.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love
He's
it.
spectacular. So
I love it. We before the main event, we get one more backstage segment. Gunther is talking to Ludwig and says that if Giovanni doesn't put Johnny Gargano out on a stretcher next week, there's going to be some problems.
no, if Ludwig doesn't,
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
yeah,
Ludwig.
yeah.
But Gunther is getting tired of Ludwig and Giovanni's like stupidity. It's like y'all need to get it together. If Johnny don't leave the next week out on a stretcher, we're gonna have some problems.
Yeah, I loved it. I think it's setting up for an inevitable triple threat match between Imperium as they implode. You know, that's not my idea. That is Shayna's idea as well.
I
Yeah.
mean, I think that would be fun. I'm just trying to figure out. I think the tipping point will be DIY when Imperium loses to DIY in a tag team match, and then
Hmm.
Gunther just is like, "Oh hell no!" Bam, hits them both. Then we get our main event for the undisputed WWE World Tag Team Championships: Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso versus the Judgment Day.
Hmm.
This went about how I expected. I thought this was a fine match. Again, if you missed Fastlane, you're pretty much getting the best of highlights in this match of what we got over there. I feel like
Hmm.
this was a little bit cleaner. The only difference is that Jimmy Uso reared his ugly head into this match and cost Jay and Cody the titles by super kicking his brother.
He's following the tribal chief's rules. He said, "Go handle that business," and he did. He cost his brother the tag titles. My fear, and I know it's a ridiculous fear, guys, so hate on it if you want, argue with your abuela, a mí no me importa. But my fear is that the Usos are going to main event night one at WrestleMania, and I believe that that should go to Becky and Rhea.
Oh, don't put that out in the no.
I'm trying to
I don't
squash that shit now.
listen. I don't want that out in the universe. I do not need another women's match to be the semi-main event. No, we need to
Hmm.
put it as a main event. Listen, we cannot have the Usos be main eventing another night of WrestleMania over a
Hmm.
women's match that deserves it and will probably 99% be better than that match. No, no shade, but
Yep, I agree with you.
man. Listen, Triple H, Nick Khan, the powers that be at WWE now, if you watch this video, please don't let that happen. You can still
Hmm.
have the brothers face off, but don't let it be the main event. Put that as the semi main event or put it in the
Hmm.
middle of the show. Like,
100%.
oh my goodness. But I still think because of this, we're setting up for Survivor Series, and it's going to be Jay and Cody and whoever else they can get versus the Bloodline and the Judgment Day boys. So that listen, I'm excited. And I didn't believe it before, but I would love if Cody's like, hang on, I gotta make a phone call. Yo, punk, what are you doing?
Mhm.
I mean,
I would love that, but I guess we'll see. We'll wait and see what happens. I don't know if that's where we're going, but I don't know. I'm excited. All in all, I was very excited with this entire show. I thought this was a spectacular Monday Night Raw, and as we discussed this weekend, it came off of a spectacular SmackDown, like back to back stellar shows. I just can't believe that that's what we got. I mean, that's exciting. That's an exciting thing for professional wrestling. So let's see what happens. Hopefully tomorrow night is as good as this was because hopefully we get that. but from all intents, from everything that I read on NXT so far, which I'll watch the show as I'm laying down to go to bed here soon, it sounds like NXT was a banger. So,
I know, I'm with you. I'm gonna be watching it as soon as we're done here. But so then really quickly, let's give our ratings for this. So my new co-host that's gonna join me and Evan, Luis, what do you give this Monday Night Raw?
I'm gonna give this four and a half empanadas. I love it. I thought this was great. I thought this was a really good show. I can't complain. We got so many women on the show. This is something we've been asking for a very long time. Like I felt like I spent the whole summer bitching about this. I spent the whole summer bitching about the lack of usage of Rhea Ripley, and now ever since SummerSlam, we have gotten a amazing amount of um women in general. The past couple of shows, starting with like NXT, has just been like exactly what I've wanted. I'm a big like, as I said before, I'll say it again, I'm a big proponent of women's wrestling, so I'm excited about what we're seeing. And I just want I want more of it. I want more of this. So I'm gonna give it 4.5. I'm gonna give it 4.5, and I'm proud of that.
As you should be. I'm actually gonna agree with you. I also give this 4.5 empanadas out of 5. For the same reason with you, with the women actually being used properly and a lot of them being used. We got multiple segments and we're building up to women's storylines, which has been severely missing during the course of the summer. And just from a pacing and a writing and a booking,
Mhm.
everything flowed really, really well. It didn't feel like anything was out of place. I mean, Sammy kind of being the Eeyore right now in WWE in Raw is a little okay. That's fine. It's not the worst thing, but all right. But other than that, everything else is good. We had good matches. Men and women storylines are developing. Uh, yeah, and for my humble opinion, the woman like really took over this Monday Night Raw. And I was just like, "Thank you, Hunter. I know you believe in the women's wrestling like the rest of us do."
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad that we finally got it. And on the heels, which I find very interesting, on the heels of the Vince McMahon news about how he no longer has creative control, all of a sudden Triple H has full creative control. And now the women are being showcased more. I wonder if maybe people were wrong. I wonder if I was wrong about Triple H not valuing the women on the main roster. Maybe he just had to wait until some of that stuff was gone. Some of those people were gone.
Mm, 100% agreed. Well, that brings us to the end of another Raw Squad review. Luis, I'm so happy that you are now a fixture here on the Monday Night Raw reviews. I'm so excited to involve you more, and I'm excited to have a third co-host to balance out me and Evan's craziness. But I I can't wait. But for those of you tuning in, thank you so much for tuning into this review. If you'd like to see more long form TV reviews as well as pay per view reviews, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification. Check out our other videos here on the Biconics YouTube channel. Make sure to follow us all over the social medias at BC WrestlePod, where you can see notifications of when videos go live, as well as clips of the shows, where we say some pretty interesting things. It's a lot of fun around here. And then, of course, if you think we're unhinged here, please check us out at the Biconics Wrestling Podcast, where all podcasts can be found, because we're a little more crazier over there. Our latest episode just dropped where me, Luis, and another new face around here, Andrew, we literally took the idea of a Forbidden Door and we created our own dream pay-per-view card with all if a true Forbidden Door existed and all the companies could work together. It was a great time. And we also talked about some of the worst main events that we have seen, which may or may not have involved some exploding death wire, but you need to go check out that episode to find out what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But until the next Raw Squad review, this is Mikey and Luis. And as always, take care of yourself, love one another, and stay biconic, you beautiful bastards. But until the next review, we'll catch you later.